Forget gurus. Forget anyone claiming to be an online business expert without going through the challenges of entrepreneurship themselves. The Real Money, Real Business podcast is here to prove the best insights in online business comes from your fellow online business builders. We dig into stories of entrepreneurs selling their business on the Empire Flippers marketplace so that you can learn how they made their business profitable, how they overcame obstacles, and what lessons they learned in their online journey. If you want to take your business and your knowledge to the next level, you've come to the right podcast. Let's get started.
Hey everyone, Brandon here with another great business to discuss on this episode of the Real Money, Real Business podcast. Today's guest is Nick, and he's selling his Amazon FBA business on the Empire Flippers marketplace. So welcome to the show, Nick, and how are you doing today?
Thanks, Brandon. Very happy to be here. I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing perfect as well. Yeah, it's really nice to have you on the call and to talk to you about this business you've created. But before we dive in deeper into the business itself, let's give a general overview. So it is an Amazon FBA business in the supplements niche created in June 2014. The average monthly revenue for the business is $15,966 and makes an average of $6,531 per month in net profit. For everyone listening, you can visit empireflippers.com/marketplace and search for listing number 54075 to learn more about the business, or you can unlock this listing to start your due diligence if you're interested in purchasing this asset. So now that I've given a general overview of the business, what's included in the sale is the Amazon Seller Central account with one SKU, the domain and all site content and files, a trademark, an email list with over 661 subscribers stored in MailChimp, social media accounts for Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, supplier relationships, and it is worth noting that inventory is not normally included in the list price, and further details can be provided to active buyers. So, Nick, can you tell us a little bit about your background in building and running online businesses?
Sure. So, like you mentioned, in 2014 is when I started this business. It was my first and only e-commerce business. And really just the supplement niche that I sell in was something that I was interested in and still am and had a passion for. And really the reason I started it was just because, in my opinion, there wasn't much out there that fit what I was looking for. So I created a product and just really wanted to get a little side income, some passive income, nothing more, nothing less. And that's kind of how it served me over the last, 7 years or so.
Yeah, that's a really awesome story to hear how you started this business and got it up and running. So why choose Amazon FBA? Was there something that just stuck out to you about the Amazon ecosystem that really brought you in? Or why not maybe just go with like a normal e-commerce business model is what I'm asking.
Yeah, that's a good question. Well, like I mentioned, I wanted it to be passive, and I was vaguely familiar with FBA, so I wouldn't have to ship and fulfill products myself. The Amazon ecosystem makes it very hands-off for listing, selling, and all the background work that's necessary to sell and ship a product and all that. And that's probably one of the big reasons. But of course, the other big reason is that Amazon is such a big seller in the marketplace. And I felt that if I ignored Amazon, then I'd probably be ignoring a large portion of sales that I could be getting if I did not focus on FBA.
Yeah, it's a very good mention as well. And yeah, it makes a lot of sense, having more of a hands-off approach with this business model, having Amazon take care of, some of the logistics and other things you had mentioned. Now, why choose the supplements niche? Was there something in this niche that you saw as great potential during the early stages of your product research? Or was there maybe a tip-off or maybe through a course that you located or took that maybe led you down this path?
Yeah, I think I just kind of thought about it logically. It's a small product, so it would be fairly simple to ship. It's something I can have manufactured in the USA for relatively inexpensive, and it has pretty good markup. So it kind of checked all the boxes I was looking for in a passive product that I could profit off of, and I wouldn't have to import from overseas or do any of that. So that was, to me, a big benefit. And like I mentioned earlier, it's a health niche that I was personally passionate about, and a product that I did not see much representation in the marketplace. So that's really it.
Okay. Now, if the business is doing so great at this time, Nick, why have you decided that you would like to sell it?
Honestly, I've got a lot going on, and this doesn't take much of my time. I only probably put in about an hour a week or so into the business. So it is very passive, but I could use the capital for some of my other projects and investments that I've got going on. I've lost a little bit of passion. I don't put much time into it, like I mentioned. I wouldn't say I got bored with it, but I'm very enthusiastic and passionate about some other things going on in my life right now. So That's really the big reason. And I wouldn't be upset, if I kept it. I think, I could continually keep up about the same pace I'm going and make good profit, steady profit, which isn't a bad thing. I'm totally fine with. But like I said, I could use the capital for other things, and that's really the whole point.
Yeah, that makes total sense. It's a good reason if you lose that passion or you want to put it into another passion project. That is a common answer that we do get from a lot of sellers too. So yeah, I completely understand that. Now, was there anything that you learned while growing this business that you plan on applying to maybe your current or future projects?
Yeah, well, it's been crazy how much I've learned over the last 7 years about business, running a business. I'm starting off, I didn't have a whole lot of capital. I got loans to purchase products. I learned all about bookkeeping, which wasn't something I was real familiar with, the tax system in the USA, all that stuff. It's been a great learning experience, and all that will apply very well to all my future endeavors, whether in business or just personal finances and just relationships and things like that. And the whole Amazon ecosystem is something I'm super familiar with now, and outside that as well, kind of understand how everything works in that business and e-commerce. It's all been a great learning experience, kind of drinking from a fire hose for the last few years.
Yeah, it's awesome to hear that. And, the more experience we can gain with Amazon and the ecosystem, the better off we can set ourselves up for the future as well, too. Now, with this business in particular, Nick, was there anything that you tried and it just didn't give you the ROI that you were expecting?
Amazon's changed so much since when I first released the first products. And I've had, probably 6 or 7 SKUs in the past. I've only got one now, like you mentioned, because I just kept the racehorse going and kind of just continued the ones that were, they were profitable, but I just wanted to focus on the one. So that would be one, is just adding more products. When I started, I don't know if it was because it was a unique product or because the Amazon algorithm changed, or if it was, the incentivized review process, and I guess not process, but rules and restrictions have changed. It's a lot different now adding products than it was back then. It was easier to get a lot of reviews, or maybe not easier, but it was a different process. So you can't just throw a product up on Amazon nowadays and expect a bunch of sales like maybe you could back in 2014, or it could a little easier. Back then it was kind of the wild, wild west. Not a whole lot of rules. That's probably one thing. I've dabbled in social media, stuff like that. I've never been good at it. And I don't know if had I hired somebody or maybe polished up on my own skills, if that would ultimately result in more sales for some of those other products or not. But there's a few things like that. I've done most things myself. I've hired some people off Fiverr and some other kind of, Upwork and some of those other assistant websites and stuff to do some of the branding and copywriting for me. I think everything's helped, but it's just the Amazon ecosystem changes so much, and you really got to stay on top of it and understand it throughout the whole process, which I have been real good at doing over the last few years.
Okay. Yeah, I understand. I mean, we want to do everything that we can, but, there's only so many hours in the day. So I completely understand on that front. You kind of dabbled or touched base a little bit on this, but I'm curious. So what else are you doing in terms of marketing? I know you have an email list with over 600 subscribers. Are you utilizing that at all, or doing any forms of marketing on your website? Or can you walk us through what are some of your typical marketing strategies at the time?
Yeah, really all I do right now to get sales is I do campaigns on Amazon, and I've tried Facebook ads, I've tried Google ads, and I think I was profitable in them. But like I said before, I wanted to be a very passive business. So I just stopped and went just with Amazon. It was easy to track, and I really only have to get on there every 1 or 2 weeks to kind of update my ads. For marketing, not a whole lot. I barely ever update my website. I don't think I have in a couple years. And I don't really use my mailing list too often either. When I was releasing new products or running sales for, say, like Black Friday, Cyber Monday, stuff like that, I would use it. And I think I would see some return there. But I think I just kind of got lazy. And I think that's also probably a good opportunity for somebody that is interested in buying the business. I think there are a lot of opportunities to increase sales and grow the business by adding products, adding better marketing or more marketing, or any really, and growing that list.
Yeah, absolutely. Really great opportunities. And I'm sure our potential listeners and buyers out there could also see the value in that roadmap you've kind of set out for them already in ways that you could ultimately scale the business even further. Now, can you walk us through some of the typical work or tasks that you're performing on the business on a weekly basis at this time?
Sure. So I try to check ads at least once every 2 weeks. Sometimes I do it every week. It's just kind of how busy I am. I've got a full-time job, so this is just kind of a side project. I only do about an hour of work a week if I could estimate it. So on Mondays, I might go into my campaign manager, check all my ads, all my AdWords, and see, or keywords, and see, which ones are performing well, which ones aren't, and I'll just adjust the cost per click on those based on the ACoS that they're doing. And other than that, that's the only real routine thing that I do. When I run low on product, obviously I order more, but that's also pretty hands off. It's usually just an email to my supplier and he'll get it going, send me the invoice. When he makes the product, I just submit the Amazon information for FOB delivery, and then he'll ship it directly from his warehouse in California. Really, it's just managing inventory, checking ads, and then answering. Occasionally I'll get an email from a customer or something through Amazon, a review or anything like that I might need to respond to, feedback, things like that, and I will address it. But it's probably no more than an hour a week, if that.
Yeah, so it sounds like it's pretty hands-off at this point. So that's really great. Do you feel that there's any particular skill set that a buyer should have prior to acquiring this business? Or do you think that most of the operations and this hour of work you're doing each week can be learned during the transition period?
I think it could be learned during the transition period for the most part, to be honest. I think if somebody were to want to grow it and do better than it now, then some of those skills would apply. And that's like understanding how ads work, understanding maybe, I don't use Google, I don't use Facebook, I don't use any kind of social media. That kind of stuff would help grow it, I think. And also adding new products and having a little background in the supplement industry would help. But if somebody wanted to buy it and just collect passive income and probably not expect to get any growth out of nowhere, but I think continue to get steady profits for several years, I really don't think there is any skills that are needed. It's pretty cut and dry, pretty simple.
Yeah, it's really awesome to hear that, it's not necessarily something that could be out of the ballpark as long as you have a little bit of the background knowledge that could actually help the business grow. So that's really awesome to hear that mentioned. Now, on the flip side of that, what do you feel are maybe some of the potential risks associated with this business that a buyer should be aware of?
Yeah, anytime you're working with Amazon, you're kind of at their mercy. So any kind of Amazon business is a risk in a way, and I don't know how big of a risk, but I've heard some horror stories from other companies. I've never never had any major problems myself, but Amazon controls the market and they control their site. So you're kind of at mercy to their algorithms. And if something changes, then if my listing went from page 1 to page 5 or something, then that would definitely affect sales. So that's probably the biggest risk, I would say, for anything with Amazon. And they've also got the power to send your product or terminate or anything like that, just kind of at their will. But I would think that as long as you follow their rules, their terms and conditions, I don't think that is an issue or a problem. Definitely that's the biggest one. Other than that, it's one product. So that might be, I guess, a little bit of a risk there. If there were more sales channels, then you might be spreading your risk a bit as well. Right now, I sell a little bit on Shopify, a little through Walmart.com. And if someone was able to increase the sales on this to be a little more comparable to Amazon, then I think that would definitely mitigate some risk.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, diversifying the channels and especially your sales platforms as well is really important and really great opportunity, as you mentioned, being able to already have the opportunity to scale those that you have already established those platforms. So that's really great. So now, are you willing to commit to a non-compete, meaning you'll stay out of this specific niche once the deal is done?
Yeah, I don't anticipate or expect to get back into any kind of e-commerce. Well, not anytime in the near future, and probably not. Absolutely.
Okay. And then how much support are you willing to offer potential buyers? Are you going with the typical 30 days of email and call support, or did you have something in addition that you would like to add on to that?
Yes, I am, but the typical, I think, would be sufficient. But of course, depending on the buyer and what their needs are, anything like that, certainly negotiable.
Yeah, that's really great. And then are you open to negotiating something like an earnout where you'll receive a large portion of the sales price up front and then smaller payments closing out the deal after that?
I'd certainly be more interested in a single lump sum payment, but I'm open to it. I just listed this business a few days ago, and it is my first time. So I'm not really sure what to expect as far as interest or demand or how many offers I'll get on the business. I guess how much interest I'll have on the business. So I'm certainly open to any kind of payout, would definitely be negotiable.
Yeah, it's great to hear. And I'm sure our buyers as well can also see the value in that as well, too, that you're open to negotiating that should it meet, in terms for both sides and be beneficial for everyone. Now, what advice would you give to our listeners that you wish you knew when you first started this business?
Like I said before, it's been kind of crazy just starting the business and learning so much. But my advice would be to pay yourself as little as possible if you're trying to grow your business, because that is when I was getting out loans to buy products and at the stage of growth where all the capital in the business, I think, really helped scale it quickly in the beginning. And then later on, like now, where it's fairly steady, I haven't been growing it as much. I've kind of taken a step back, and now I'm taking some profits, but the business is remaining fairly steady as far as sales and profits go. I think my advice would probably be to try to keep as much money in the business as you can scale a lot faster, and you can own a lot more. You don't have to have a whole lot of investors or divvy up any kind of profit.
Awesome. So final question for you wrapping up this call, Nick. So putting yourself in the shoes of a buyer, why do you think that your business is worth buying?
I think it's worth buying because it stood the test of time. It's been around since 2014. It was one of the first supplement businesses in its niche. And there are competitors out there now, but not a whole lot. And it's a niche I think that's going to be around for a while as well. If I was a buyer, I think this, me several years ago, I would want to buy this business because it is fairly hands-off. It's set up. There's not a whole lot of, you're not going to have to recreate the wheel. And if you look at the numbers, I mean, they've been pretty good over the last several years. So that's why I think it would be attractive. And to be in the supplement industry in general is kind of nice for some of the reasons I mentioned earlier. You're not shipping huge products. You're not paying a bunch for storage. And you're making pretty good markup too.
Yeah, really great opportunity. And just looking at metrics and all of the numbers as well in your listing page, it's also great to see, this type of business come onto the market. And it offers a really great opportunity as well, too. So that pretty much wraps up the call, Nick. Was there anything else that you'd like to add that I might have missed?
No, I don't think so.
Perfect. Well, thanks again for jumping on the call. It was really nice talking to you and hearing how you started this business. And yeah, looking forward to seeing this listing getting sold for you here in the near future.
Thank you. Me too.
All right, everyone. Thanks for listening. To learn more and to see if this listing has already been sold, head over to empireflippers.com/marketplace and search for listing number 54075. If you're watching this on YouTube, click the link in the description to go straight to the listing. And once you've unlocked this listing, you'll be given everything you need to know about this business. So until next time, enjoy your digital journey.